is. So what I want to do is I want to find the equation of the centroid. Okay, so the centroid, and we just got to remember what that is. The centroid is talking about the medians. All right, so the centroid is a point. Okay, so what I'm looking for is the point of intersection of the medians. Okay, so I'm looking for the intersection of the medians. Okay, and remember, we're looking for a point. So you got to understand what the final answer is going to be. The final answer that I'm looking for is an XY coordinate to find the actual position of the centroid. So when we're thinking about this, we got to remember what medians are. Okay, so a median is from a vertex to the midpoint. Oh, it's getting a little messy. To the midpoint of the opposite side. So that's what we're looking for. We're looking for the segment that connects the vertex to the midpoint of the opposite side. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw in those. First, since we're dealing with midpoints, let's find some midpoints. Okay, now I'm not going to go through the midpoint formula. This is something that we did on first semester, so you could actually find those. But remember, I'm taking the x values and adding them. So if I take 1 and 3, that's 4, divided by 2, that's 2. And then if I take 2 and 4, that's 6, divided by 2 is 3. So we're just going through and finding the midpoint, okay? And then do the same thing for all of them. So if I got 5 and 3, that's 8, divided by 2 is 4. And then 4 and 0, that's 4, divided by 2 is 2. And this is working out nicely because I have it on a coordinate system, and I can see that this is the point 4, 2. And if I go through, I can see that if I do the equation, that's going to be a 6 divided by 2 is 3, and then 2 and 0 is 2, divided by 2 is 1, or I could just look on the graph and I see that that's the point 3, 1. So what I have here is I did want to graph it out so it's a little bit easier to see, but not all the graphs that I'm going to put in are going to show the x and y coordinates. I mean, you can figure them out, but it's just kind of seeing how this all relates. All right, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to draw in the medians, but I'm going to draw them in using different colors. So I'll draw this one in right here. We'll make that a red median. I got a green median I'll put over here. All right, and then I will do a blue median right here, okay? And if you notice, they do all intersect at this point, okay? So sometimes it's gonna work out nicely. I mean, I can see that this is the point that they intersect, and it seems to be the point 3, 2, okay? But not everything we do is gonna work out this nicely. Some of the other examples that we're gonna do next are not gonna be able to be seen like this, where we're gonna have some decimals as part of the answers. So this is one of the ones where if you do have graph paper and it works out nicely and you draw it in perfectly, it is going to intersect at the point 3, 2. But the goal is to find the equations of these things and then work through and actually solve the system of equations. All right, so where we are right now is I found all of the midpoints, okay, because these midpoints are part of what a median is. Okay, a median goes from the vertex to the midpoint. So just for note purposes, what we're going to do is we're going to find the equation of a couple of these medians. Now, there are 2 medians on here that are easy to work with. And whenever you're doing these problems, sometimes you want to just pick out the easier problem or the easier equations to work with. And those 2 equations are going to be this one right here, okay, because that looks to be like a vertical line. And then also this blue one right here, because that is going to be a horizontal line. And those are going to be some easy equations to find. So just for note purposes, we're going to go through and we're going to find the equations of these lines, and we're just going to find those intersections, okay? Now, not every problem is going to be done just like this one, where they're going to be nice vertical and horizontal lines, but this is just how this example worked out. So the first thing I want to do is I want to find the equation of the blue median. Okay, so let's talk about the blue median. Now, I'm trying to color code these because it's just easier to work with and easier to follow. But if I'm dealing with the blue median, remember, I am looking for y minus y1 equals mx minus x1. That's the equation. I want the equation of that line. And remember, I need two things. I need a point and I need a slope. Well, for the blue median, there's 2 points that make up that median. So these are going to be the 2 points that make up the blue median. Okay? So I can choose any one of these to be the point on the equation. So since 1, 2 was given to me, I'm going to choose that as the point, 1, 2. And then remember, the slope is just the calculation. So the slope is going to equal y minus y over x minus x. So that's 0 over 3. So the slope is going to be 0. So basically, I have everything. Okay? I chose to find the equation of the blue median. I know the point that it goes through, and I calculated the slope. So what we're going to do is we're just going to write out that equation. So that equation is y minus 2 equals 0 times x minus 1. So it's going to be a y equals 2. That is the equation of the blue median. Now, it's not always going to work out this well, where it's going to be a horizontal line. Like the green median, that is not going to be an x equals or a y equals, just a specific constant, but it is going to give me a different equation for that green median. But whenever I'm choosing these problems, I want to choose the easier lines to find the equation of, and definitely the blue one and the red one are the two easier equations to find. Okay, so what we did right there is we found the blue median, and it's right there. And since the red median is the next easiest one, let's find the red median. All right, and remember that the 2 points that make up the red median are going to be 3, 4, and 3, 1. Okay, so those are going to be the 2 points of the red median. So again, going through the same thing, I need a point and I need a slope. So I need, remember, I need a point. So the point, it doesn't matter which one I choose. I'm just going to choose 3, 4 because that was given to me. And then I need the slope. Okay, so remember, the slope is going to be the calculation. Y minus y over x minus x. I get a negative 3 over 0. So remember, the slope is undefined. So the slope is undefined. Okay, so we're going through that. Now remember, anytime I have an undefined slope, that means it's a vertical line. So the equation is not a y equals equation. Okay, do you guys remember what the equation of a vertical line is? So if you remember the equation of this vertical line, throw it in the chat. Let's see if we're awake and we remember some first semester stuff or some algebra stuff. Okay. But the equation of that vertical line, got a few answers coming in. Good, good. So I don't want to say zero slope, I want to say undefined slope. Zero slope is going to be a horizontal line, the blue one. So a few answers coming in. Thank you very much for that. The equation of a vertical line is x equals, and in this case, x is going to equal 3. So that is where we are. Just kind of going through and understanding that. Now, if I'm going through, remember my goal is to find the actual x and y coordinates of the centroid, and I found those. I found x is going to be 3 and y is going to be 2, so now I can go through and say that the centroid is at the point 3, 2. Okay. So that is the point that the centroid is at. Now, I could have found the equation of the green line, but I didn't have to. It would have been a little bit more complicated. But just for no purposes, I'm going to find the equation of the green line just to kind of show you that it didn't matter which two that I chose. It is going to be the same answer in the end, okay? But remember, the goal was to find this intersection point right here, okay? And we found that. One, we could look at it on the graph, but it's not always that nice. But two, I found the equations of two of these lines and solved it out. If I wanted to go through and find the green median, and hopefully you guys can see the green okay. So the green median, y minus y1 equals mx minus x1, I need a point. And I'm going to choose the point. I'm going to choose the point 5, 0 because that's easy to work with. And then I need the slope, and that's going to be the calculation of 3 minus 0 over 2 minus 5, 3 over a negative 3, which is negative 1. Okay. So now I have all the things that I need to find the green median. Okay, I'm going to take a few things off screen. I have the slope equals negative 1, and then the point is 5, 0, so that's y minus 0 equals negative 1 times x minus 5, or y equals a negative x plus 5. So this is the equation of the green median. So what I could have done is I could have found the equation of the red one, the equation of the green one, but in the end, if I solve that system, I'm going to get the same point. So what I want you to understand is you have three medians. I could find three equations, and I choose two of them to find the intersection. So just for no purposes here, if I chose the green and the red, it would look something like this. So if I would have chose the green equation, which is y equals a negative x plus 5, and the red equation, which is x equals 3, I could plug this in. So that gives me a y equals a negative 3 plus 5. So then y would equal 2, which is the same answer that we found. So really what I want you to understand is that there are three medians. You have three choices of equations. You need two of them, and then to solve that system. The easier ones in this problem were to find the blue and red, because that gave me my x and y outright. If I chose the green equation, I would get this one right here. I would get this equation, and then I just got to solve a system, okay? So remember, we have choices, so it's just going through and choosing two equations that you think are easy to work with and then solving that system. All right, so I spoke a lot there. I'm going to let it sink in. Any questions, comments, or concerns? No. All right, so that was the first one. That was the centroid, which was the medians. Now remember, this triangle balances on this point. So if I wanted to cut out that triangle and balance it, that would be the point that it would balance on, okay? And now going through, we're gonna drop to, I did leave a lot of space here. I wasn't sure how much the notes would take up. And then when I made the note sheet, look at this. That didn't even copy over, so it's fine. So what this is supposed to say is find the circumcenter. Get to my page here. We got 8, 6, 8, negative 2, and 2, negative 3. Yeah. So what I want to do is I want to find the circumcenter. So I'm going to write that in here. Is find the circumcenter of this triangle, okay? So what you guys got to remember is the circumcenter is going to be the perpendicular bisectors. All right, so we are finding whenever I see circumcenter, okay, so circumcenter, what this means, it is the, pickles, don't want to do that. All right, so boom, it is the point of intersection of the perpendicular bisectors, okay? So that's what we have going on there. So if you have the ability to print this out, I thought it'd make it easier on you to do that, and you can draw on this, or we can just kind of follow along. Some people are taking notes on Cami, whatever works, okay? But remember what we're finding. We're finding the point of intersection. So what this means is we're finding the point XY. We're finding the bisector, okay? Which this is gonna be the midpoint. And then it's gonna be perpendicular. So what I'm thinking here is negative reciprocal slopes, okay? So these are all the things that I'm thinking of when I have this problem. The point of intersection, so I gotta find a point XY, okay? And then I'm finding the perpendicular bisectors. So what I need to do is I need to find some midpoints again, because I'm gonna be perpendicular through those midpoints. So hopefully everything I have written is sinking in. It's not anything too new, but it is gonna go through and find some midpoints. So we're gonna do like we did in the last equation, okay? So the midpoint of 8, 6 and 8, negative 2, this is gonna be the point, 8, 6 and negative 2 is 4 divided by 2 is 2. So that's gonna be the midpoint right there, 8, 2. Okay. And then we have some more that we need to find. Let's see. I gotta find this one down here. So this 2 and 8 is 10, divided by 2 is 5. Negative 3 and negative 2 is a negative 5, divided by 2 is a negative 2.5. So now we're dealing with some fractions here. So that means our answer is probably not going to be as easily found as the first one. And then here, 8 and 6. So I think this is going to be the midpoint right around there. So 8 and 2 is 10, divided by 2 is going to be a 5. So I'm going to put the, where can I put this where it's not in the way? So I'm going to put it right here. That's a 5. And then 6 and a negative 3 is a 3, divided by 2 is a 1.5. So here we are. We got some decimals going on. Actually, I'm going to move this. So I'm going to move it right here. All right. So what I want to do now is find these perpendicular bisectors. So I'm going to draw them in just like before. I got this red one right here. Okay. This one is pretty easy. It's going to be like this. All right. I got this blue one down here. So I want to be perpendicular to it. So it's going to be something like that. And then I'm going to draw in this green one right here. And in order to be perpendicular, hopefully this works. It's going to be like somewhere right around here. Thanks, buddy. And so if I look, these all intersect at this point. But I don't know what that point is. It's not as nice as the other one because 1, this isn't drawn perfectly, and 2, it is going to be one of those ideas where we have to understand the math behind it and not just kind of draw a graph and hopefully find it, okay? So remember, each of these are perpendicular. So these are perpendicular, perpendicular, okay. And then this green one is supposed to be perpendicular. I kind of messed it up a little bit to kind of go through that intersection point, okay? So this is what we're looking at. All right, now this is a little off, but that's fine, okay? It's just for no purposes here. So remember, our goal is I want to choose two of these equations or two of these lines to find their intersection point. And I want to choose the easier ones that we can work with. And I think one of the easy ones that we can work with is this red one, okay? That's going to be an easy one to work with because that's just going horizontally, it looks like, okay? All right, so let's kind of go through a few things and just take a look at some of the slopes here. All right, so let's kind of do this. Let's find the red perpendicular bisector. All right, so let's find the red perpendicular bisector. All right, remember, I need a point, okay? And I need a slope. That's the two things I need for the equation of a line. And the only point I know that it goes through is this one right here. I don't know any other point. I don't know this point where it goes through, and I don't have a midpoint or things like that. So the only point that I know the red line goes through right now is the midpoint, which is 8,2. Because it goes through the midpoint of the side, and so we calculated the midpoint to be 8,2. Okay, so that's where we are right now. I calculated the midpoint, so I know the point that the perpendicular bisector is going to go through is 8,2. And then remember, we're going to plug it into this equation. Okay. All right. I got to calculate the slope of this. Now, on the first example, I had 2 points that I could calculate the slope. But here, remember, I need to be perpendicular to, I got to find the perpendicular slope, okay? So let's take a look at the slope up here. Okay, so this right here, the slope is going to be a 6 minus a -2 over 8 minus 8. So that is going to equal 8 over 0, which is undefined. So the slope of this line right here is undefined. Okay. So that means if this perpendicular slope, that means that the perpendicular slope is going to be, this is where it throws a lot of kids off, is going to be 0. If this slope is undefined, the perpendicular slope is, that's what we're saying, because they are negative reciprocals. All right. What we got? 30. Just gotta write something down, kids. Hold on. All right, so going through, that's what we have. Just give me a moment here. Boom, boom, boom. And bam. All right. Go. All right, so I know that the perpendicular slope is going to be 0. So now if I plug all this stuff in, I get y minus 2 equals 0 times x minus 8. So y equals 2 is going to be my equation of that line. Okay, so y equals 2. So I know that my y coordinate of the point of intersection is going to be 2, because that's what y equals. Okay, so right now I know that y equals 2. But now we have options. Okay, and we're going to deal with some fractions and things like this, but is there any choice that you want to find? I'm thinking of doing the green one. If I'm going through and choosing slopes here. All right, so if I'm going through, I usually want to choose out some things that have nice slopes to work with. So, I mean, let's just kind of take a look at some slopes right here. I know that, let's go, I'm gonna go purple here. I know that the slope here is going to be a -2 minus a -3 over an 8 minus 2. So that is going to be a 1/6. Okay. So I know the slope of this side is going to be 1/6. And I know the slope here is going to be a 6 minus a -3 all over an 8 minus a 2. So that's going to be a 9/6, which is a 3/2. So the thing to think about is I know that I'm dealing with perpendicular slopes. So the slopes of these two sides of the triangles are 1/6 and 3/2. Now think of the perpendicular slope. What's the easier perpendicular slope to deal with? And if you're thinking about it, it would be this side right here, because the perpendicular slope would just be a -6, okay? So remember, you have choices of which ones you want to deal with, and I think this one would be the easier side to deal with, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the blue perpendicular bisector. Because my choices are the blue or the green right now, and if I'm taking a look at the slopes, the slope of this side is going to be 1/6, so it's up 1 and to the right 6. And so I know that the slope, the perpendicular slope, is going to be a -6, and that's pretty easy to work with. Okay. So the reason I chose the blue is because the slope of the blue line is going to be -6. And if I'm going through that, then I need a point. And remember, the point that it goes through is going to be a 5 and a -2.5. So all I got to do is write my equation of this blue line. And the equation of this blue line is y plus 2.5 equals a -6 times x minus a 5. All right, so if I'm going through here, this is the equation of my blue line. Okay. And so that's where we need to understand. What I did is I found the equation of this line right here. Ooh, that was not straight at all. Let's see if I can do a little better. So I found the equation of this line right there. And now I just want to find that intersection point. So remember, the intersection point is the system of equations, the solution to that. So now, in order to go through, okay, I want to find, do it again, let's get rid of here, boom. So I want to find the intersection, which is going to be the circumcenter, okay, of the red equation, which is y equals 2, and the blue equation, which is y plus 2.5 equals a -6 times x minus 5. So what I want you guys to do is tell me what x is. So break out a pencil, write down, and see if you can figure out what x is, because I already know what y is, okay? No. I seem to be losing my ability to write right now. So go ahead, throw in the chat what x is. There we go, brought it back. Sweet. All right. All right. So if I'm going through, let's get some more kids throwing in the chat what you got for x. Yes, I agree, Christian. That is good. Yes, Arjun, that is good. All right, so I got some good answers, and I can say the answer is less than 5. Okay, so if you're doing this, the answer is less than 5. Remember, when I'm solving this system, I want to take y equals 2, and I can just plug it in. Okay, so if I do that, I get 2 plus 2.5 equals a negative 6 times x minus 5. This side gives me a 4 plus 5. I can distribute this and get a negative 6x plus a 30. If I want to do that, I can distribute this in. So remember, distribute this in. If I subtract a 30 over, that'll be a negative 25.5 equals a negative 6x. Divide by negative 6, you should get 4.25 is going to equal x. So I get a decimal. But my final answer is going to be, remember, I'm looking for xy. X is 4.25 and y is going to be 2. That's what I'm looking for the intersection. Different than the first one because I have some decimals I'm dealing with. But that is what I needed to find, the intersection point. So if I go back up to the picture, this intersection point right here is 4.25 and 2. A little bit hard to find just by drawing in these lines using what I had for technology-wise, but I can go through and solve that system.